Christmas from your urban lifestyle radio, 92.7 3 FM.
Merry Christmas! Ho, 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 ho!
3 FM.
Accra gets busy on this frequency. 92.7 3 FM.
Follow us on social media. Twitter at 3FM927. Facebook at 3FM927. And also on 3news.com.
Good afternoon. Welcome to the Midday News on 3FM 92.7, live from our studios here at the Sawe Kanda, Accra. My name is Grace Hammoah Agyemang. Coming up in the bulletin, Education Minister is expected to brief Parliament on government indebtedness to WAEC, which has stalled marking of this year's WASI. Also this afternoon, Electoral Commission to provide clarity on controversies surrounding the disputed parliamentary election results in some constituencies. And later on, we tell you why the majority leader, Alexander Apenyo-Markin, is calling for cool heads within the NPP as a party regroups to strategize for the future. We have details of these and more in the next 30 minutes. Stay with us. Many thanks for joining us. The bulletin begins right here and right now. This afternoon, the Education Minister, Dr. Yao Osei-Educhum, and the Finance Minister, Mohammed Amin Adam, are expected to appear before Parliament to explain the government's failure to release some 118 million cedis owed the West African Examination Council, WAEC. Ranking member on the Education Committee, an MP for Akachi North, Peter Nochukotoi, on Wednesday raised the matter on the floor of the House and demanded that the two ministers be hauled to explain the situation. He believes the developments is jeopardizing the timely release of the 2024 WASI results.
Currently, there is a serious financial challenge facing WAEC with regard to the conduct of the 2024 WASI, post-examination activities and the release of results. WAEC stated that the Ministry of Education was owing the Council the sum of 118 million Ghana cedis. The effect of the delay in the release of funds to WAEC is negatively affecting their mandate in several ways. WAEC has to incur high costs of conducting examinations because materials cannot be procured in bulk and in advance. Also, WAEC is unable to pay examiners in time, and it is beginning to lose experienced and seasoned examiners. The target date of 19 December for the release of the 2024 WASI results will have to delay because examiners are threatening to hold on to their scripts if payments are not made to them on the submission of marked scripts. WAEC is unable to fund either regular maintenance that is required or procure new equipment. The release of the results of 2024 WASI will be put on hold, and the chances of successful candidates entering tertiary institutions early next year will be affected. Mr. Speaker, in conclusion, I wish to urge you to invite the Ministers for Education and Finance to appear before the House and explain why government is unable to release funds to WAEC to enable it to release the 2024 WASI results so that our children and wards are not denied the opportunity of entering tertiary institutions in January 2025.
Ranking member on the Education Committee, Peter Nochukotoi, there. Our Parliamentary Affairs correspondent, Noble Crosby Annan, will be joining us shortly on whether these two men have appeared. But before that, let's speak to the Secretary of the National Council of the Parents Teachers Association in Ghana, Ralph Kofi Gabson. Mr. Gabson, if you can hear me, thank you for joining us. As an association, how worried are you about the state of WAEC?
Thank you very much, Grace, and thank you for this opportunity to engage you and your cherished listeners. First of all, let me commend Ghanaian parents for making sure that democracy prevailed in Ghana and also making sure that what we are not happy about in the educational system we send a strong signal as parents that whoever becomes government coming 2025 should make sure they don't take issues of education for granted. And let me add and say that we are as worried as this issue is on the front burner. It's becoming clear that we have a Minister of Education who is always engaging in firefighting approach. We want to see results. We don't want to be seeing always lamentations about every year. It has become a ritual that WAEC will always have to come out. The ranking members of education or parliament have to speak on behalf of WAEC. This used not to be the norm. This used to be the exception. So it has become now the norm, and we think that it is not anything that we should be happy about as parents. Because one, why should it be for the sake of issues about they don't even have money to do regular maintenance or routine maintenance of their equipment to be able to mark our examination scripts? They don't have money to pay experienced examiners for them to mark the scripts of our awards. There are two categories of people who wrote this exam. Those who wrote it in the private space for private schools or private exams, and those who also wrote it based on government subvention. So if government says that it has taken care of certain things and is not able to raise the funds to pay and create this kind of impediments and then headache for us as parents, it also affects us in so many ways as parents. Because when these things delay and later on funds are released before WAEC goes into mark and then comes out with the results and releases them, and it also affects the calendar for tertiary education, those who pass. At the end of the day, it brings a lot of unnecessary financial burden and pressure on us as parents. And as these things are happening, our children are sitting home, planning and everything about the educational space has been truncated. So it's not anything that we should be happy about. And it's becoming like the outgoing Minister of Education is becoming famous for some of these things which are unhealthy. And when you talk about it, he sees you as a voice which is anti-government. But you do things for people to criticize your government, and you expect us to say what?
Mr. Gafsing, so as an association, what do you think is the way forward on this? Any engagement with WAEC, any engagement with the ministry, or even the ranking committee members?
The bottom line of this issue is that we should get their money for them to make sure that they're able to do their work. We can't do anything outside this. And we are prepared. We've always told government that, look, you cannot be more Catholic than the Pope. And government cannot do it alone. Education is a shared responsibility. Development in education is what we call together we build. So what government can do, if you can provide 25% subvention of examination, then you can do 25. Then we parents know that we are coughing out the 75 to make sure that we don't have this kind of headaches. It used to be 25%, it moves to 50, it moved to 75. Now government says, oh, I've absorbed it. You absorb it, but you are not able to pay. It's the same like maybe you go to hospital and these guys are, you pay for health insurance. You go to the hospital and then drugs are not available. Basic services are not being provided. And your child is lying on the sick bed and is about to die. As a parent, what do? If you have money, you make sure that you save your child from that situation. But in this case, government is not even open enough to tell us that, look, we don't even have the funding to do it. But it is clear that the Minister of Education is becoming known. One of the things we celebrate him for is his inability to always make sure that he makes timely releases on time to make sure we don't find these problems at our front burner.
Because so there's also the branch of the conversation that there's also this branch of the conversation that because parents have already contributed their quota, or like you said, some of the students applied or wrote the exam as private students, their wards or their parents can take legal redress against the government. Is this something you look at?
And we'll pick that issues up going forward. Because the child in the private space whose parents have fully paid for that particular examination, there is no way that the system should hold them to ransom for a service that they have paid for and they need results.
All right.
But you see, the numbers goes more with those in the public space than those in the private space.
All right.
That is why sometimes this discussion becomes a bit something else. But the truth of the matter is that it is becoming clear that the Ministry of Education, and for that matter, the Ghana Education Service, and all the bodies that regulate that space are not doing well to make sure that these things we are able to nip it in the bud. And I'm saying
thank you, Mr. Agyemang, for talking to us.
To support these things going forward, to make sure that we get the best of education.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Raphael Kofi Gapsing is Secretary of the National Council of the Parent Teachers Association in Ghana. Let's now connect with our man in Parliament, Noble Crosby. And Crosby, first of all, talk to us where you are. Are you in the main chamber that we know of, or you are still at the AICC?
Grace, as it happens today, Parliament has will begin sitting at the main chamber of the House. Remember that before Parliament went to the Accra National Conference Center, the Dome, it was as a result of some renovation work that announced by the Speaker, hence sitting could not continue here for the past couple of months. But I can tell you that these members of Parliament, they have gathered at the main chamber. It appears that the renovation work in the main chamber is complete. So sitting will very soon begin in the original chamber of Parliament as you know it. Being here, we understand that a few changes have happened. The tables of these members of Parliament, we understand, have been changed. The public addressing system in the House has also seen some renovation of some changes, if you like. We also understand that a lot of digital infrastructure has been added to the original chamber of the House, such that voting activities to check, as well as absenteeism of members of Parliament, among others. All these things are included in the changes that we're seeing at the original chamber of Parliament, where the MPs are now sitting and not at the Accra National Conference Center at the Dome.
Okay, Crosby, and we know that one of the main features of the business in the House today is the appearance of the Finance and Education Ministers to brief the House on the government's indebtedness to WAEC. Have the two men appeared already? How does it look like?
Well, we're yet to judge the Finance Minister and the Education Minister in the chamber of the House. As a matter of fact, as I talk to you now, I see quite a handful of members from the NDC side of the House, the minority members of the House who have begun sitting in the Chamber of Parliament. For the NCC, we're yet to see a lot of them gather and begin, processes to begin parliamentary work. So the Finance Minister has not been cited, the Education Minister has not been cited, and you remember that yesterday the ranking member of the Education Committee, Peter Nochukote, was concerned about the levels of indebtedness government owes WAEC and how the impact will be for the country's education, particularly for students who just wrote the WASI examinations and are waiting for their results. The Education Minister asked for some time to go through the report and then respond to the question or the statement made by the ranking member of the Education Committee. Hopefully that happens today. But among the key things to expect to the House today is also the mini budget presentation by the Finance Minister. You know that for the past 3 days, the Finance
He's
Minister
not been able to appear.
Parliament to appear and to present the mini budget. That fueled a lot of speculation and conjecturing as well as assumptions from the NDC side, who was saying that government was planning to tackle them into the next administration. However, the NDC maintained that they are making a few changes, and that is how come they will not be able to present the mini budget. However, the expectation is that today it should happen, because the impact, if it does not happen, Grace, is huge. We're talking about salary payments, controls, we're talking about stationery materials being lacking in some offices, hence may not proceed as smoothly as expected to be, and a whole lot of others.
All right, Crosby, thank you for bringing us those updates. Noble Crosby Annan, our man in Parliament, bringing us up to speed on happenings in the House. Let's move away from Parliament and talk about the just ended elections and the full two-member of Parliament, Majority Leader Alexander Kwamina Afenyo-Marking, has called on the rank and file of the New Patriotic Party, NPP, to stop the blame game after the party's defeat during the just ended presidential and parliamentary elections. Members of the party, pained by their massive electoral defeat to the NDC, have started to blame President Akufo-Addo Vice President Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, and the NPP leadership for their unprecedented loss amid calls for a purge of remnants of Akufo-Addo loyalists from the party. That's how they describe it. Commenting on the matter on 3FM Sunrise with John Hughes, the majority leader called for calm and introspection to understand the cause of the monumental loss.
Sometimes people would want to vent, but my message to them is that take it easy. Calm down. Let's manage all things in-house. Our friends in NDC have been in that situation before. They have been in that situation before. They manage themselves, and today they have the power. We did so well in government. Infrastructure, social intervention programs were rolled out.
92.7.
Ghanaians benefited. We managed the COVID situation. No public sector worker was denying salary. We've done more recruitment into the security services. We've done more recruitment into public service to create jobs for people. We activated the private sector drive. This technology, digital policy we introduced has made social services convenient. What's more, we need to put ourselves together and even in opposition, speak about the impact of these interventions to the people and rebrand ourselves and give them hope. Because it's all about giving hope to the disappointed, to the dejected, to the depressed, and to assure that when the opportunity comes, I will do things better. It's as simple as that. Calling each other names, calling one another names, fighting publicly will not be the solution. But again, there are some people that you can also stop them. All you need to do is to talk to them to manage the situation. And I'm sure with time, the pain would go down.
Efutu MP and Majority Leader Alexander Penyo Makinde. Let me now take you to the law courts because 16-year-old son of Bishop Elisha Salifua Maku, founder and general overseer of Alive Chapel International Church, has been sentenced to serve 6 months at the Senior Correctional Center. The 16-year-old faced manslaughter charges following a fatal car accident in East Legon, Accra that claimed 2 lives. The juvenile pleaded not guilty to 8 charges, including manslaughter, dangerous driving and driving without a license, and insurances at his first appearance in court in November. Let's speak to our correspondent from the court, Lord Edu Asari, who has the details of how it happened in court today. Lord, if you can hear me, thank you for joining us. Update us on how proceedings went in court today.
So, Grace, as is the norm, as far as juveniles are concerned, we are usually not allowed inside the premises, the court premises during the hearing, but we got all the details from our sources. So what we know and can report is that, like indicated, the 16-year-old has been sentenced to 6 months per the charges that he pleaded guilty after initially pleading not guilty. Now, he got sentenced to 6 months because per the Juvenile Justice Act, that is the maximum punishment prescribed to a juvenile offender for manslaughter. Now, as part of the sentencing, he's supposed to sign an undertaking not to drive until he turns 18 years per the laws of the country. Now, his parents are also not left off the hook. Mind you, they already have a case at a different court, but as far as this case is concerned, they were additionally fined 6,000 cedis each, so that totals 12,000. And then Professor Salifua Maku is also supposed to bear the cost of the damages which were incurred at the location of the accident. That included a pole and then the destruction of a wall. And so the pole alone, we have found out that it cost a little over 8,000, supposed to bear all that cost as well. Family of the deceased persons were in court. I saw a grandmother of the late Justin Agbenu, Ifwa Bene, she's the one who spoke. The general feeling or air was that, well, the punishment cannot be enough, but they were satisfied by House with the process and everything had to be great.
All right, Lord. So that brings more like an end to the matter now.
Yes, I mean, he's been sentenced, so he's going to spend 6 months at the Senior Correctional Center. His parents are still, regardless of what happened in court today, there's also another case, another leg of the case in a different court that includes just the parents and then that employee of his big brother who allegedly handed the keys to him to drive. That case was adjourned the last time we were in court to January because Professor Lifamako has engagements during this December, Grace.
All right. Lord, thank you for bringing us those updates. Lord Eduasari, my colleague in court, updating us on that. Well, still talking about courts, though. The 16 persons arrested in connection with an electoral violence at Damongo in the Savannah region have reappeared before a Kumasi High Court after being remanded in prison custody for 1 week. Ibrahim Abubakar has been monitoring proceedings and has more for us on the phone. Ibrahim, how did things span out today in court?
Well, Grace, unfortunately, all the 16 have been granted bail today. Last week, when they appeared before the court for the first time, 14 of them were remanded in prison custody and 2 who were minors were released. But on the condition that the person who hold responsible for their release will bring them on every sitting. So today when the 14 came, the 2 also moved from Damongo to this place. The state attorney prayed that the judge give them more time so that they conduct their investigation, but the counsel for the accused said they cannot keep these people in custody for a long time because these 16 were not arrested at the crime scene, but they were arrested at various locations. For that matter, they are innocent until proven guilty. So they prayed the court to grant their client's bail, and the court needed to that advice. So as we speak, each of the 16 has been granted a bail of 20,000 cedis each with 2 sureties. And that surety, they need to get people who reside within the Asante region. Even though the incident happened in Damongo, which is within the Savannah region, the case was brought to Ashanti region because of security concerns. So currently, they are all trying to meet their bail condition, and they are expected to be back in court on the 23rd of January.
Ibrahim, while we have you, let us go to the campus of the KNUST because we know leadership of the Tertiary Education Workers Union of Ghana, TEU, yesterday threatened to disrupt a council meeting scheduled to take place today over concerns of the representative on the governing council of the university. Did the meeting come on as planned?
Well, today the meeting didn't come on, but even yesterday, after the press conference and publication and broadcasting of the story, a leadership of TEU Ghana received a call from the registrar of KNUST, and they assured them that today's meeting, they will not include any representative of TEU until those grievances are being addressed. So they gave them that assurance, but still today members of TEU Ghana went around the administration block hoping that that will be adhered to. But unfortunately today the meeting even didn't come on. Management said due to some issues they are trying to handle. So that has been addressed. So the meeting didn't come on, and they have been given that assurance that no TEU representative will be on the council until GTEC address all those outstanding issues.
All right, Ibrahim, thank you for those updates. Ibrahim Abubakar is our correspondent in the Ashanti region. Let's go back to the Efutu constituency of the Central region, and some members there have expressed concern over what they describe as ongoing attacks by supporters of the NDC during assembly meetings. These members claim that whenever meetings are held, NDC supporters crowd the assembly premises, disrupting proceedings and making it difficult to address critical issues. Despite repeated attempts to involve the police, the situation has not been resolved, leaving the members feeling uneasy and unable to conduct their work effectively. Akosiado is my colleague in the region. He's been following up on this development. Kwesi, if you can hear me, describe the nature of the disruptions caused by these NDC supporters during the meetings and how frequently do these incidents occur? What is the rationale behind it, though?
Okay, so on the 12th of December 2024, members of the Assembly conferred to hold a General Assembly meeting to mark the end of the year and also plan activities for the year ahead. That meeting, according to the members, was distracted. Then 2 days after, that is on the 14th of December, a similar incident occurred. And then recently, when members conferred to appoint zonal council coordinators also, they had some NDC supporters allegedly invading the assembly premises to disrupt that particular meeting. And so it is becoming very difficult for the assembly members to decide on critical matters for the assembly. And then let me also mention that these happenings may be serving as a forecasting to what may be happening in the few months ahead of us when the president-elect fully takes over governance and then nominates someone as the MC for the Efutu Municipal Assembly. Because we do know that even though the assembly is not supposed to be run on partisan basis, the respective political parties do sponsor candidates in the local assembly elections. And so with the recent one, we had all the 19 elected members of the assembly being those sponsored by the NCC. The members of the assembly are worried because they believe that they are not having the latitude to perform the core duties by which they were elected to the assembly. And so we have Matthew Dikatia, who is the assembly member for the Ndam electoral area, speaking on this issue.
Let's hear him.
Pursuant to the Law Governance Act and the 1992 Constitution of Ghana, there is an establishment of district assemblies, and the Futu is among the assemblies established. Per Section 3(2) of the Law Governance Act, it says that the assembly shall exercise legislative, executive, and administrative powers, of which the assembly exercise. What is happening is that after this election, we are here having our meetings, of which the NDC supporters invaded the assembly. They attacked us, moved us, and they sacked us from the assembly. The next day, which was on the 12th day of December 2024, we were to elect our zonal council chairman. They came here again to invade us, and also they were attacking us. Their conduct and attitude has prevented us from conducting our meetings or holding our meetings within the assembly, of which is against the Constitution of 1992 of Ghana, and of which we are here addressing the public that per the conduct of the NDC within the Futu municipality, they are doing things which is a contempt to the assembly, pursuant to Section 18(5) of the Local Governance Act, which states that the assembly in its right may summon anyone an act that seems to be contempt to the assembly. We are addressing the public that the NDC within the Futu municipality are attacking the assembly, including the assembly members, in our various homes, and we want the public to know of what is happening.
So you had an assembly member there in the Futu constituency, William Dekathia, speaking to us on that disturbances by supporters of the NDC anytime the assembly wants to hold meetings after the December 7 elections. Well, let's move to Sekondi in the Western region, where we understand President Akufo-Addo's statue, which was vandalized, has now been repaired. You will recall the statue, which had been unveiled by the president himself, had provoked much displeasure within the twin city of Sekondi, Takoradi and beyond, with many, especially the youth, vowing to relocate it. My colleague in the Western region, Rama Smith, has more in the following report.
So the accident at the calf of the Nana Akufo-Addo statue located here in Sekondi has been repaired. We understand that on Wednesday around 4 p.m., 3 people, a lady and 2 gentlemen, came around to repair it. And I have been speaking to some of the vendors close by. One guy at the washing bay, Abeka, tells me that he saw it being repaired, and as he was leaving from work in the evening, that's around 6 p.m., a police officer here that he assumes was providing security. However, the food vendor over there also tells me that she saw the police officer talking to the sculptors or those doing the repair works, and he later left. So we can't really tell whether security was provided for it overnight. But basically, the statue has been repaired.
Canada could the Canada by 2:32 train. So about I train. So by at least by 3:30 for no there. Wo guda wale. Wale ya no, mo the police in your privilege now. Mo you all kasa na minima asama.
We are prayer now there.
Okay.
Well, that was a report by my colleague Rama Smith on the updates on that vandalized statue of the president at the Sekondi Circle roundabout. That will be all for our package for the midday news on 3FM.
Excitement about you has died.
Well, that will be all for our package on 3FM 92.7. Before we go, stories that came to you as headlines. An education minister expected to brief Parliament on government indebtedness to WAEC, which has stalled marking of this year's WASI. Also, Electoral Commission to provide clarity on controversies surrounding the disputed parliamentary election results in some constituencies. We understand that press briefing by the EC is about to begin. We'll definitely bring you details on that. And we told you why the majority leader, Alexander Peñomarkin, is calling for cool heads within the NPP as a party regroups to strategize for the future. Many thanks for joining us. Log on to 3news.com and get some more stories. My name is Grace Hammoah Agyemang. Good afternoon.